Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if women fighting for Naruto Harem. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. Mitarashi Anko, Yuhi Kurenai, Shizune, Suzume, Azuki Yugo, and Inuzuka Hana were all seated together. Their subject at the moment was about the tournament. I think it's ridiculous having this sort of competition. Suzume replied back as she adjusted her glasses at the bridge of her nose to keep it from sliding off. The rest of the women nodded their heads in agreement. All except for Anko. I don't think so. I think it's great. Think about it. Being able to fight in the best of your abilities against one another. Anko replied back enthusiastically. That's easy for you to say, Anko, since you thrive in action. It would seem unfair for the rest of the competitors. Suzume replied back. She wasn't a fighter. She knew this. She was a teacher, teaching young kunoichis the finer things in life such as the art of flower arranging and cooking. She was more brains than brawn. From what I know, the tournament has 3 parts. Genin, Chunin and Junin. They fight each other according to their rank and also an obstacle course. Afterwards they are divided into groups. To keep it fair, Shizune explained. Are any of you joining? Yugo asked. In truth she was intrigued. She wanted to join. Besides, it was a great chance to test herself against other female nins. Present company included. I've already signed up. Anko responded in glee, which came as no surprise to the rest of the women. I'm in. What about you, Kurenai? Hana answered. She already knew that from the look of things Suzume wasn't interested. I'm still thinking about it. Kurenai answered. What's the prize for this anyway? Suzume asked, already tired of the subject. A golden trophy, recognition, and all expenses paid trip for 2 to Wave Country. Shizune answered. There are also rumors going around. Hana brought up. She had heard a lot of rumors about the tournament. One most popular rumor was about a certain blonde shinobi. About what? Yugo asked. You mean you girls didn't know? The major prize of Uzumaki Naruto. Anko supplied them, which made the women gasp in utter and complete surprise. No way. Yugo exclaimed, not believing her ears. Anko only crossed her hands across her chest and nodded. Yuha. That's right. The trip for 2 is with Uzumaki Naruto. She remarked with a sadistic grin which all her companions knew pretty well. And how did you come by this information, Anko? Tsunade-sama didn't even tell me any of this. Shizune asked her companion. Well, I heard Kakashi and Iruka talk about it while I was at the Hokage Tower. I overheard them say that the trip for 2 consisted of the winner of the tournament and the company of Naruto for a month to the wave. Tsunade was still trying to think of a way how to inform Naruto about it. Apparently Jiraiya had altered the letters that was sent out to the other villages, naming Naruto as one of the major prizes. Anko explained. Oh, that poor boy. Kurenai replied back. You mean young man, and I wouldn't feel sorry for him considering the amount of response we got back from the other villages. Anko corrected. All the other women looked at Shizune for confirmation. Shizune merely nodded. The amount of letters flooded Tsunade's office. No wonder her mentor wanted to kill her former teammate. Anko grinned. Considering the looks on your faces, I'm guessing you're all contemplating about the tournament now. The rest of the women blushed. Naruto has become the village's eye candy. No matter where he went, dozens of eyes followed, tongues wagged and the women drooled. I thought so. Anko replied back as she licked her lips in anticipation. She was looking forward to this little competition. There's one thing I don't understand in any of this. Suzume interrupted as she yet again adjusted her glasses. What is it, Suzume? Asked Hana. The stipulations and rewards about the tournament was pretty much straightforward. Well, Suzume began but was rudely interrupted by Anko. Just say it. Anko exclaimed impatiently. I'm just wondering if Naruto knew of the role he would play in all this? I'm pretty sure he wouldn't be condoning himself as a prize trophy. Suzume explained, doubtful of the blonde's participation. She had heard talks about the blonde demon carrier. Judging from what she had heard, while Naruto may be rough around the edges, he has a heart of gold and was always reluctant about his perverted mentor's plans. She also heard that he sometimes foils Jiraiya's peeping whenever he catches his perverted mentor near the women's hot springs. Now that I think about it, you do have a point, Suzume. Kurenai agreed. Based from what Hinata had told her, Naruto was quite shy and had always great respect towards women. Hinata had reassured her that while Naruto wasn't an ideal gentleman, He wouldn't try and take advantage of any situation if he knew it was unfair and unjust. Well, Shizune? Hyuga asked their companion. If anyone should know more about the tournament, it would be Shizune, since she was Tsunade's apprentice. Shizune merely looked at her lap. Well, I didn't even know Naruto was involved in this. If I would have probably warned him. And then, Anko prodded, which could only mean that Tsunade and Jiraiya are trying to keep Naruto in the dark about his role. If they wanted Naruto to know, they would have at least told me about it. Shizune explained, disappointed that Tsunade and Jiraiya seemed to have collaborated on Naruto's behalf. That's right, if Kakashi and Iruka were talking about it in such privy, then they're probably part of Jiraiya's plan of keeping Naruto in the dark. Anko exclaimed as all the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. But how could you keep something as big like this from Naruto? I mean, it's the talk of the whole village. Hyuga exclaimed, it must be something very diabolical. Suzume answered while she heard the women gasp. Meanwhile, somewhere in Konoha, Naruto happily gobbled up large helpings of his favorite food in the whole wide world. Ramen. Ayame merely smiled at the blonde affectionately as she watched him inhale the ramen she kept bringing him. There was no way to describe a feeling of pride when you watch someone appreciate all your hard work by eating it all up and not spilling a drop of it. She had worked hard, cooking everything that Naruto ordered. Naruto would stop every time to give her his compliments as he devoured them in less than 2 minutes. Thanks Ayame-chan, Naruto said as he gave her one of his foxy grins as he continued to eat. Oi, Oja-san, you should do this more often. Naruto called out to Ayame's father, who was cooking at the back. Ichiraku merely smirked. The youth had no idea behind the reason of his most recent food promotion. He didn't like keeping him in the dark and was against the idea at first when Jiraiya had come to see him about keeping Naruto occupied. Jiraiya had given him a lot of money and promised more if he would agree to keep Naruto occupied right until the tournament begins. He wanted nothing to do with it at first, but Jiraiya had assured him that it was for Naruto's sake. Ichiraku had grown fond of the boy and treated him like a son he never had. So it was only natural for him to feel protective of Blonde. Besides, Jiraiya was his mentor. He won't let anything disastrous happen to Naruto, right? Oh man, I'm so stuffed. Naruto commented as he belched out loud. Sorry Ayame-chan, please excuse me, while the girl blushed. It's okay Naruto. It only means that you have enjoyed your meal. Ayame replied back, as she began stacking up the dishes. Naruto felt guilty as he watched Ayame collect the towering bowls of which used to contain delicious ramen. It looks like Ayame would be stuck washing the dishes. While Naruto enjoyed the free meal he got, he felt rather guilty that Ayame and her father had worked hard to cook his meal and he didn't lift a finger to help. Hey Ayame-chan, do you need any help? Naruto asked as he began to help her collect the dishes. No, it's okay Naruto. Ayame replied back, no it's not. You've worked hard to prepare me a meal without me paying the amount that it mostly deserves. The least I can do is help you clean up. Naruto replied back, not taking no for an answer, as he balanced the towering bowls on his arms and made his way to the back of the counter to begin washing the dishes. Ayame could only blush as Naruto joined her side. She had always thought of Naruto as kind and thoughtful. They began washing the dishes alongside each other and sooner than expected the dishes were done. Well, thanks again Ayame-chan and Ji-san. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I have to go train now. Naruto bid his farewell. He needed to lose all the food he had consumed. A future Hokage should look fit after all. Ya-ne Naruto-kun, see you tomorrow. Ayame called out as she waved him off. Ichiraku smirked. Whenever Naruto had no missions, he was either at their diner or training anyways. But what's different this time is the amount of time he was there. He almost spent the whole day there, and to be honest he was getting tired. Perhaps an eat-all-you-can-all-week promotion wasn't a really good idea since the boy practically inhaled the stuff, the same as the Akamichi boy. But then again it was Jiraiya who would be paying for all their expenses. Besides, the business was booming, he just needed to hire more help, that's all. Hey, Naruto yelped as Ayame splashed him with soapy water as they washed the dishes. No fair. He then began to splash her back, making Ayame squeal. Soon a water fight began, only to end abruptly when Naruto tried to get Ayame with a handful of soapy water, only to splash Ichiraku when he came to investigate why his daughter was squealing in delight. Ji-Gomen Ji-san, Ayame moved. Naruto apologized while Ayame giggled and stuck her tongue out at him. Ichiraku just sighed as he wiped his face with his apron. It's alright Naruto. No harm done. Just try to keep it down alright? Ichiraku replied as he walked away. Serves you right. Ayame sing-songed then squealed when she saw Naruto grab another handful of soapy water and headed towards her. She tried to get away but slipped. Naruto saw this and immediately dived to catch Ayame or at least cushion her fall, which he succeeded in. Ayame yelped when she hit the hard ground. Itai, that hurt, she complained. You're hurt? Naruto replied back rather sarcastically since it was he who cushioned her fall but nonetheless worried. It was only then did Ayame realize she was sitting on Naruto's rock-hard stomach. She blushed at such intimate contact. Do you mind getting off me Ayame-chan? Naruto asked at the blushing woman, which Ayame complied to. Kuso. Naruto suddenly cursed. What's wrong Naruto-kun? Ayame asked, hoping he had not injured himself for her sake. I had to go to the market district today. Kin-chan was really mad at me for coming home late yesterday. Naruto explained. Tsuchi-kin was an ex-kunoichi from Sound. During the Sound invasion however, when Sound inevitably lost, they had discovered a few stragglers in the village. One of them was Kin, which because of Orochimaru's kinjutsu was left too weak to flee. When Orochimaru's kinjutsu was defeated by the Sandaime, his kinjutsu was cancelled and brought his sacrifice for the jutsu back to life but left them barely hanging on. Her teammate Zaku Abumi wasn't lucky. Because of the injuries he had sustained during the Chunin preliminaries exam, he didn't have enough chakra to sustain him, which caused his untimely demise. Naruto along with his team was the one who discovered them. When his fellow nins moved in to finish Kin off, Naruto blocked them. Flashback. Move Naruto. Kakashi ordered his subordinate who continued to block the way of the other Junins. Move out of the way brat. We must dispose the trash. Look at what they did to our village. To our Hokage. One of the Junins raged. But Naruto remained to where he was standing. Move out of the way Dobi. Sasuke also told his teammate, trying not to stress himself because of his injuries. Naruto you idiot just move. Sakura yelled at him but Naruto remained stoic. You dare side with the enemy? One of the Junin questioned. I will not let you kill someone who is obviously defenseless. Naruto answered. She is one of the enemy. One of the people who attacked our village. Look at her. She can barely even open her eyes. She's barely alive. Naruto protested. She is not a threat. Kin, while she was still too weak to speak or move, heard Naruto's words. Why is he defending me? Hasn't there been enough bloodshed? Do you really think this is what Sandaime would want? To attack someone who can barely defend themselves? Naruto replied back, his head down to hide his eyes. The Junins seemed to have been affected by his words. Very well Naruto. We won't harm the girl. We'll just arrest her, then nurse her back to health. Kakashi reassured his subordinate. Then they will interrogate her, something the blonde doesn't need to know. Naruto seemed to agree as he moved slightly only to lift the girl up in his arms. I'll carry her back to hospital then. Naruto informed them with a determined look on his face. Not trusting the other nins. Kakashi sighed. Yar Naruto. You're being quite obstinate about all this. Then turned his attention towards the other Junins. We'll take it from here. Hi Kakashi-sensei. One of the Junins responded before the three Junins took their leave. That's probably the most reckless thing you have ever done Dobi. Sasuke replied back but was really impressed of his teammate's spirit. Naruto merely smiled and ignored Sasuke's jibe. He looked at the girl in his arms, glad that she was still breathing. We'll escort you to the hospital. Kakashi informed Naruto as their team headed back to Konoha Hospital. End flashback. When Kin was nursed back to health and was interrogated for information, Morino Ibiki found out that the girl was used by Orochimaru to summon the first and second Hokage by using Kin and Zaku as a sacrifice for his Kachiusei. Edo Tensei. Summoning. Impure World Resurrection. She had also expressed no desire to return to her village after what Orochimaru had done to her and her teammate. It was decided that she be placed under diplomatic immunity. She will stay in Konoha under supervision by another citizen as a refugee. Naruto has volunteered to watch her and even allowed her to live with him. At first, they were at each other's throats since Kin didn't trust him, but in time they had managed to live together peacefully. Kin had enrolled to become a leaf nin and became good friends with Hinata and Tenten and the rest of Naruto's friends. Naruto was interrupted from his thoughts when Ayame asked him a question. "She's not upset with you, is she?" Ayame asked. Naruto just gave her a sheepish grin. Since discovering that Ichiraku had an all-you-can-eat promotion going for a week, he had not been eating any of Kin's cooking, which really displeased her. He was meant to go to the market today to buy some groceries but got sidetracked again when he caught whiff of the delicious scent of ramen being cooked and immediately turned around to eat a few bowls of ramen before going shopping. "That was 2 hours ago. Not if I don't hurry." Naruto replied back. "Sorry about the mess, Ayame-chan. It's alright, Naruto-kun. You better hurry." Ayame replied back. Naruto then dashed off towards Konoha's market district. "Where the hell is he? He should have been here by now?" Kin said to no one but herself. "Naruto should have been back by now. I bet he stopped by Ichiraku's again." Kin plopped down on the couch. She had grown fond of the blonde over the years they had lived together. She can actually afford a place for herself but was adamant to do so since she had gotten way too attached to him. She never did have the courage to tell him about this since he was still stuck chasing Sakura around like a lovesick little puppy. Something that always grated her nerves. While she had gotten along with all of Naruto's friends, she couldn't stomach Sakura's spoiled attitude. The way she treated Naruto like a little lapdog really got under her skin. She kept leading Naruto on, not to mention Rock Lee as well, while pinning away for that traitor Sasuke. She got the two guys eating at the palm of her hand. She then headed towards her room. It used to be Naruto's room, but since she moved in, Naruto moved next to the smaller room next to hers that used to be his storage room. She had appreciated Naruto's generosity. He even helped her decorate the room to her liking. She approached her bedside table and opened the top drawer. She took out a piece of paper. She reread its contents. It was about the Kunoichi tournament. She had signed up without Naruto's knowledge, wanting to win the tournament so that she can spend the grand prize with Naruto and finally confess her feelings for him. Then another thought entered her mind. There is a possibility that Haruno Sakura could be her opponent, which brought a smile on her lips. She jumped when she heard the phone ring. "Moshi Moshi?" Kin greeted as she picked up the phone. "Kin?" asked the other voice on the line. "Ten-chan, what's up?" Kin replied back, recognizing Tenten's voice. "Nothing much, just bored." "Hey, did you sign up for the tournament yet?" Tenten asked. "Yeah, I have. Have you?" "Yeah," Tenten enthusiastically replied. "I heard almost every kunoichi signed up. Aren't you excited?" Thus the two ladies began to discuss in great length who they thought would be in the tournament and what were their chances of winning. Somewhere in Konoha's streets. "Phew, this seems the last item on the list." Naruto replied back as he carried an armful of groceries, only to be interrupted by a summoning bird. "Great, this is just great. Now I have to go to see Ba-chan." Naruto sighed. Kin won't be happy about this. He then began to make his way towards the Hokage Tower. At the Hokage Tower, Tsunade sat behind her desk. In front of her was two of the other country's representatives seated. Behind them were their respective bodyguards. Both representatives were women and were subtly filling the room with tension as temperature dropped. They had been discussing their accommodation and the services that will be provided during their stay while at Konoha when both women asked about Naruto. Almost immediately both women looked at each other with suspicion, which made Tsunade's eyebrow rise. "Well, this is quite interesting," Tsunade thought as she watched the two women. Just then she heard a loud ruckus by her office door, followed closely by Naruto barging in. "This better be good, Ba-chan. Make it quick, I need to go home and put all my groceries away." Naruto whined, still holding an armful of groceries. He had kicked open her door, seeing as he had his hands full. Tsunade's eyes began to tick at the blatant disregard Naruto was showing in front of her and the other dignitaries. She noticed the two women's mood seemed to have brightened due to his arrival through her peripheral vision. Naruto seemed to also have noticed that there were in fact other people in the room and immediately felt sheepish for his behavior. "Sorry, Ba-chan, didn't know you had guests." Tsunade seemed to have relaxed because of his honest apology. "That's all right, Naruto. Katetsu." Tsunade called one of the shinobi, who immediately appeared beside Naruto. "Please take Naruto's groceries to his place. I need to discuss some matters to him." Katetsu immediately complied, taking the grocery out of Naruto's arms. "Thanks, man," Naruto said to the other nin. "No problem, Naruto. Kotetsu replied back before disappearing. Naruto. Both female voices piped up in unison, drawing Naruto's attention to Tsunade's guests. Both females in questions glared at each other. Yukiheim? Harunaheim? Naruto said before his eyes settled on Haruna's bodyguard. And Yorinojo-san, what are you guys doing here? He replied back with surprised glee. He had not seen them for years. 5 to 6 years in fact. Yorinojo smiled. We're here for the Kunoichi tournament. Tournament? Naruto asked in confusion. As everyone in the room sweat dropped. Naruto walked in between the two princesses. Unaware of the growing tension between them. Yorinojo's sweat dropped at the tension and was amazed how the blonde could act so oblivious about the two females. How is Snow Country Yukiheim? Did you get the machine to work again? Naruto asked Yuki. It's repaired Naruto, but it takes a lot of getting used to. My people had always been used to snow, so everyone has to adjust with the changes. It was agreed that we'll only use the machine every 3 months. Similar to a normal season would be. Yuki explained while Naruto listened in rapt attention. It had been so long since he had last seen Snow Country and would like to come and visit sometime. Haruna on the other hand just smiled as she watched Naruto. He had grown since she last seen him last. He grew taller and more attractive. He was still the same talkative blonde she remembered, but inwardly she was a little jealous of the attention he was giving the other princess. She didn't even notice a small frown had graced her features until Naruto chose the moment to ask her a question. What's the matter, Harunaheim? Are you tired? Naruto asked. He knew that both women traveled quite a distance to get to Konoha. Maybe he should just catch up to them on a later date and just take them straight to the hotel for now. Haruna was touched by his concern and shook her head. No Naruto, I'm fine. I guess I better just take you guys to the hotel. You guys traveled far after all. I can give you a tour of Konoha tomorrow or something, so you guys could rest. Naruto suggested. In truth he wanted to catch up with them some more but knew he was being quite selfish if he pushed them. Besides, he should really get back home. The women wanted to protest but knew he was right. They have traveled quite far and their escorts must be tired as well from the journey. So they both reluctantly agreed. A little while later they were standing outside of the Imperial Leaf Hotel. Well, I'll be off now. Nice to see you again, ladies. I'll call you guys or something about the tour. Naruto bid his farewell before dashing off. Wait, Naruto? Both women called but he was already at a fair distance away. They had at least wanted Naruto to come and walk them to their rooms. Yorinojo on the other hand had a grin on his face. How the blonde could pull off something like this was remarkable. Perhaps he will ask him later about his secrets about women. That way he could at least ask his childhood crush Tsunade out for a drink or two. The woman seemed to have never aged at all. Naruto ran towards his apartment, praying to the gods that Kotetsu would have at least explained to Kin that he was summoned to the Hokage Tower, that's why he was late. He was too caught up with his thoughts that he wasn't really paying attention to his surroundings. Because of his rush to go home, he collided head first at an unsuspecting person on the street. Itai! Both cried out as they collapsed in a crumpled heap. Temari was pissed. She had tried to check in at every establishment she could find but it was apparently booked out. She should really have booked earlier. She wasn't looking forward to roughing it out in the Konoha training grounds during the duration of the tournament. She wanted nothing more but to strangle Kankuro for leaving him to handle her accommodation. Temari contemplated on the note that Gaara had given her. If worst comes to worst she could always stay at Naruto's. Temari hoped he didn't mind. Gaara had assured her that Naruto would welcome her. Her brother's confidence over the blonde was a little unnerving. True, the two had become the greatest of friends over the years, but how could Gaara assume Naruto would let her stay with him? Over the years that she had been appointed to be the Leaf and Sans Relations ambassador she had stayed in Konoha. Her duties required her to stay at Konoha from time to time to establish and strengthen the country's ties. During the duration of her stay, it didn't escape her attention that the ex-Soundnin Kin Suchi was living with Naruto. But that had been at least a year and a half ago. Perhaps the ex-Soundnin had finally moved out and found a place of her own? She can only hope. She really didn't want to inconvenience Naruto. As much as she tries to hide it, she had grown fond of the blonde Dynamite. He had been a very good friend to her, especially when she and Shikamaru broke up at least 2 years ago. She was too engrossed in her thoughts when someone barreled through her, knocking her hard on the ground. She landed painfully on her butt, while the person landed on top of her. "Damn it, watch where you're going," Temari cried out angrily. She was then shocked when the person on top of her got up, instantly making her recognize him. Gomen Nasai. Naruto apologized as he quickly got off the person he collided to. He was then surprised to recognize her. "Temari-chan." Naruto cried out in glee as he glomped her. Temari once again had the privilege of landing on the hard ground courtesy of an overexcited loudmouth blonde. She was instantly engulfed by an over-enthusiastic hug, making her fall back again. "Can't breathe," Temari managed to say. "Ah, Gomen ne Temari-chan," Naruto replied back when he noticed Temari had slightly began to turn blue. He jumped off of her. "It's alright Naruto. I guess you're just glad to see me, huh?" Temari managed to say as she smirked at the other blonde. "Yeah," Naruto replied back as he offered his hand to her to help her get up. He then saw her luggage scattered on the street and promptly began to collect them. "So you're here for the tournament too?" Naruto asked as he collected the bags. "Yeah," Temari answered. She joined the competition for the trip, of course. An all-expense trip to the country of waves sounded so appealing, and the fame and fortune it would bring her country. She didn't really mind if she had to spend it with Naruto. He wasn't really that bad, but she was curious as to why he would even agree to become part of the prize. She was about to ask him when his next question startled her. "So where are you staying? I'll walk you there if you want, then you can tell me what Gaara and Kankuro has been up to lately." Naruto replied back as he began to carry her luggage, totally forgetting about his need to get home urgently. Temari bit her lower lip. Naruto had just reminded her of her accommodation problem. "Well, you see Naruto?" She trailed off. She really didn't know how to ask him. "What is the matter, Temari-chan? Is something wrong? You didn't lose one of your luggages, did you?" Naruto asked, concerned. Temari shook her head. "No, it's not like that, but what is it, Temari-chan? Tell me, maybe I can do something." Naruto offered. "Well, you see, it appears that there is no vacancy in the hotels and other housing establishments here in Konoha because of the big tournament." Temari explained as she watched his reaction. Naruto nodded his head, listening intently but still had no clue to Temari's subtle clues. "Yeah?" Naruto encouraged her to go on. He still has no idea what her dilemma was. Temari took a deep breath and sighed. "There's really no point in being subtle with Naruto. They're all booked out and I have no place to go." Again Naruto nodded, until he realized the gravity of Temari's problem started to sink in his subconscious. "It appears the vixen has no place to go, Kit." Kyuubi piped in, getting really bored by Naruto's dull conversation. Naruto began to frown. He only had a 2-bedroom apartment. He also wanted to help Temari out but didn't want to ask Kin if she was willing to share her room. "You could always share your room, Kit," Kyuubi replied back with its mischievous grin, making Naruto blush as Kyuubi began to send mental images of what sharing a bed meant for the two blondes. "Naruto?" Temari asked worriedly when he saw the other blonde blush like a tomato. "Are you alright?" Naruto vigorously shook his head to clear his mind of the dirty images Kyuubi produced while it howled in laughter. "Yeah, I'm fine. Listen, Temari-chan, if you're really in trouble then I suggest you stay with me for a while then," he replied, giving her his infamous foxy grins. "Really?" Temari replied back at the blonde. Naruto merely nodded. "Thanks, Naruto." Temari replied back as she happily glomped onto the blonde. At Naruto's apartment, Kin angrily began to pack away the groceries Kotetsu has brought over. Kotetsu has informed her that Naruto was having a meeting with Tsunade and that the blonde dynamite won't be home for a while. Now Kin had no idea why she was upset, but she had the strangest feeling that somehow the day is about to get worse. Call it a woman's intuition, but something made her skin crawl just then and she knew it somehow involved Naruto. She sighed heavily. She had finished cooking dinner and was now meticulously putting the groceries away as she contemplated how to reveal to her blonde roommate about her joining the tournament. "Tadaima," Naruto announced loudly, elevating Kin's mood slightly, that is, until she saw the luggages Naruto carried and the other female nin standing behind him. While Kin was long used to Naruto's outbursts, he had never really brought anyone home, let alone another attractive female. "Hey Kin-chan, you'll never guess who I bumped into on my way home." Naruto grinned, unaware that the two females were now giving each other a once-over. Temari was surprised that Tsuchi Kin was still residing with Naruto. She was sure the other kunoichi would have at least moved out and had a place of her own by now. Kin had actually changed. She still sported her long dark ebony hair, but it was shorter and was cut up to her waist, which is more practical. She was also wearing a simple white tank top and green short shorts. It seems the girl had really gotten used to living with Naruto enough to parade in such a provocative outfit, showing off the other female's ample curves. To say Kin was shocked was an understatement. She never expected Temari to come over tonight. The sight of the bags that Naruto carried also indicated that her sudden appearance was more than a little visit. "What's for dinner, Kin-chan? I'm hungry." Naruto immediately whined as he dropped off Temari's bags on the lounge room. He then began to make his way to the kitchen. "Make yourself at home, Temari-chan," Naruto called out. Kin eyed Temari, trying to assess the reason why the other kunoichi was at their place. Temari eyed her in return. The two kunoichis had met on few occasions and has rarely spoken to each other. Just the normal niseides and social conversation, that is all. You wouldn't call them friends. They were merely acquaintances. "Hey guys, come and join me. You know I really don't like to eat alone," Naruto called out from the kitchen, making the two females break eye contact for now. They had formed some sort of silent agreement for now. They will discuss this matter later. They joined Naruto in the kitchen, where Naruto helped Kin set the dining table. The kitchen also doubled as a dining room. Temari also helped them set the table and they ate in relative silence. "So what brings you in Konohagakure, Temari-san?" Kin asked in between bites as she eyed the other blonde. "I'm sure you've heard about the kunoichi tournament, right? Well, I'm here to join in." Temari replied back in a confident smile. "Are you entering as well?" Kin had wanted to tell Naruto tonight about her joining the competition. She wanted to tell him, alone in person, but it seemed Temari had ruined her opportunity. "Hi, really? Isn't this great?" Naruto replied back in shock. He never even knew Kin had signed up. Actually, he never really realized about the kunoichi tournament until recently. "This is going to be so much fun. I wonder who else ended up joining." Tenten called today and said she and Hinata had signed up. She also told me that Hinata spoke to Ino and apparently Ino and Sakura had also signed up. Kin informed Naruto. "Sugoi. I think almost everyone joined the tournament." Naruto replied back in amazement. He couldn't wait to watch the whole event. "Are you going to watch and cheer for me, Naruto?" Temari asked. She already knew that the blonde would definitely watch the tournament, but she wanted to know if he would be cheering for her. She could still remember him cheering for Hinata and Sakura during the Chunin exams. She wishes that he would also give her the same support. "Of course, Temari-chan," Naruto replied back with his foxy grin, making Kin unconsciously snap her chopsticks in half. "I'll be cheering for all of my friends." Kin's actions weren't missed by Temari, who was only amused by her reaction. Kin-chan, I think you broke your chopsticks," Naruto helpfully pointed out. "Era? Oh yeah, I didn't even notice." Kin replied back, trying to cover herself from embarrassment. She began to collect the empty plates on the table. "By the way, Kin-chan, I have good news," Naruto continued as he looked at Kin and then at Temari. "Temari-chan will be staying with us for a while, isn't it great?" Kin almost dropped the plate she was carrying. Hi, she answered. "How is Temari staying with us? Great. But where is she going to sleep, Naruto? We only have 2 bedrooms. Kin pointed out. "There's no way in hell will I share my room." "That's alright, Kin-chan. I already have everything figured out. She will be staying in my room," Naruto replied back enthusiastically. "What?" Both women cried out in unison. Eki images flooded both of the women's minds. Temari blushed at the implications of sharing a room with Naruto, while Kin was internally raging at the implications of Temari sharing a bed with Naruto. Naruto nodded confidently, unaware of the repercussions his answer has created to the two women. Kyubi could be heard giggling at his subconscious, but he ignored it. "Naruto, you can't be serious," Kin cried out in dismay. Does Naruto even know the implications he's getting himself into? Though inwardly she wanted to be in Temari's place. So many lost opportunities. All those times she could have easily crawled into bed with Naruto seemed so far out of reach now. Damn sensibilities. "I am Kin-chan. I'll take Temari's luggages to my room now. If you'll excuse me," Naruto replied back. The decision has been made and there was no point in further discussing the issue, leaving the two women to stare at each other. "Way to stand you ground, Kit," Kyubi commented. amazed at how the boy had managed to steer and take command of the situation without giving in to the female's protest like he usually would. "This is your fault, you know." Kin angrily huffed at Temari as she took the plates towards the sink. They were now left alone to themselves in the kitchen. Temari brought her own plate to the sink. "How is this my fault?" "It just is," Kin angrily retorted. She felt that it was her fault. Almost automatically she began washing the dishes. Naruto was usually the one that dries them and it had been almost a routine for them, so she unconsciously handed the washed plate to Temari. Temari on the other hand understood her gesture and began to dry the dishes that were handed to her. They began working together in silence. "Listen, Kin, I'm sorry it has to be this way, but don't you blame me for this. It wasn't my fault that all the accommodations here in Konoha were booked out. Why didn't you book earlier then?" Handing her the last of the plates. "I did. Well, I thought Konkuro did. Apparently he booked it for next month and got the dates mixed up." Temari replied back, angry at her brother for making such a grave mistake. Kin then began to put the now dried plates, utensils and glasses away. "It doesn't really matter now, does it? You just better not try anything funny," Kin warned, "and keep your hands to yourself," as she glared at the blonde. "And what exactly are you implying?" Temari replied back. She could sense the warning in her tone. "Besides, it should be Naruto you should be warning." Feeling a bit impish, Temari decided to tease the brunette even further. "But I guess it can't be helped, can it? I can't help it if he feels the urge to touch me while we're in bed. Who wouldn't, with me lying beside him and all?" Smiling slyly at Kin. "I'm just too tempting," she added as she began to arch her back and began to pose provocatively. Kin almost snapped at Temari's insinuation. That is until they heard Naruto call out, "Hey Temari-chan, the bed's ready," which only made the two women blush crimson. Hi. Temari answered as she began to make her way towards Naruto while Kin was hot on her heels. Kin will not let Temari sleep with Naruto. If she has to, she will volunteer and share her bed with the sand nin. They both entered Naruto's room at the same time only to see the blonde male clutching a pillow and a blanket. "The room's ready, Temari-chan. Sorry if it's a bit messy and all." The two women merely stared at the blonde. "Well, I'm tired. I guess I better go and head off to the couch then." "Good night, Kin-chan, Temari-chan." Naruto replied back to the speechless girls as he walked past them and went towards the lounge room. The two women just gazed at the blonde male. Kin was both amazed and happy with the sudden turn of events while Temari felt a little disappointed, though she had no idea why. "Well, that solves both our problems then. Have a good night, Temari-san," Kin said cheerfully as though a great weight has been lifted off her shoulders as she headed towards her own room. Temari swore she had seen the brunette almost skipped happily as she entered her own room. Temari absently moved into Naruto's room and decided to get ready for bed. Wondering why she felt disappointed that Naruto wouldn't be sleeping next to her. But shrugged it aside, she might just be tired. At the couch, Naruto tossed and turned in the couch. He was trying to get comfortable but was in vain. It didn't help matters when Kyuubi often suggested that he should ask one of the women to share the bed with him since he was supposed to be the master of the apartment. Naruto merely groaned in response. So he decided to meditate and listen to his surroundings. Taking a deep breath, he began to listen. He could hear the clock ticking as well as the water drops from the kitchen faucet. He can hear the crickets outside and the breeze that blew silently against the open windows. These sounds were so peaceful and was slowly lulling him to a deep slumber. Deep in the recesses of his mind, Kyuubi watched the blonde boy sleep. Contemplating about the young human's life and the ordeal the young blonde has lived since becoming its prison. The human boy had lived a long and painful life so far. It is great to see that at least now he was finally getting his life on track. With the many friends he had met along the way, Naruto's life had gradually become better. It amused Kyuubi immensely that once his social life has improved, he had also attracted a great number of the opposite and a few same ones while remaining oblivious to it all. But despite all this, Kyuubi knew that the boy was still adjusting to this new improvement in his life. Kyuubi could still feel a sense of emptiness in the boy. "I will take care of you, Kit," Kyuubi murmured to the sleeping boy. Deep in Naruto's subconscious, where a massive cage laid, was the great creature Kyuubi. Its massive, ferocious appearance began to transform slowly. Its massive form began to shift as it gradually became smaller. The fur covering its body began to disappear. Once the transformation was finished, it left an image of an adult nude human female with long, wavy, fiery red hair that cascaded down its front covering its chest. It looked to be around the age of 20 to 25 years of age. Outside its cage laid a sleeping Naruto. Unaware of Kyuubi's transformation, Kyuubi walked in front of its cage, but as it got close the bars began to shift so that it will contain the now humanized demon. The bars could only let Kyuubi's arm pass through. Kyuubi kneeled near the cage and sat as close to the bars as possible. It sat there, with its human legs to one side, similar to how a classy and sophisticated human woman would sit. Kyuubi reached out towards Naruto's hair and began to stroke it. Naruto's hair felt like fine silk in between her human fingers. Naruto seemed to have sensed its touch, for Naruto unconsciously moved closer to the cage. "I will definitely take care of you, Kit," Kyuubi murmured to its sleeping keeper. Its red ruby eyes never left the blonde. "It will make sure that Naruto will have no nightmares tonight like the many other nights since." Kyuubi noticed the blonde's worth. Kin's shriek of indignation had awakened their guest. Temari did not appreciate being awakened in such a way and immediately grumbled about the rudeness of her hosts before trying yet again to find sleep. But even with her head buried against the pillows, she couldn't block out the sun rays already peeking through the curtains or the morning birds chirping merrily outside. It was clear to Temari that her efforts were in vain. Giving up on getting back to sleep, she decided to take a bath instead. She prepared her bathing needs and headed towards the shower, hoping that Kin or Naruto has not beaten her to the bathroom yet. Back at the lounge room, Naruto woke up the second time that day, though he doesn't know it yet. There was a slight stinging pain on his cheek, but he dismissed it as the result of sleeping on a rather uncomfortable couch. His mind was still a little hazy from remnants of sleep, and the punch that Kin had given him that he had yet to realize. For the first time in quite a while his dreams were devoid of nightmares, giving him a rather relaxed and calm feeling compared to the other times where he woke up in cold sweat. He sat up and began to stretch his arms and legs, trying to get rid of the kinks in his muscles. He then proceeded to get the kinks off his neck as he rubbed his eyes. His mind was still groggy and he wondered why in the world he was sleeping on the couch. With nothing else to do, he decided to get ready for the day. He went to his room and began to prepare his bathing needs. Meanwhile, Kin had finally gotten her composure back and hoped that Naruto would forgive her at her rather violent outburst. She was still blushing remembering Naruto's slumbering form, but willed herself to relax and put the image at the back of her mind for now and fix Naruto and herself some breakfast. As she walked past the lounge room, she noticed that Naruto was no longer on the couch, which made her sigh in relief. Then alarm signals began to sound in her head. The nagging feeling had come back in full force. Temari stepped out of the bath and grumbled at her forgetfulness. She had forgotten to take a change of clothing with her. So wrapped in a white towel, she headed back to Naruto's room to change. As she opened the door, she was frozen solid at the sight of Naruto in just his silky orange boxers standing in the middle of his room. Naruto heard the door open and smiled, thinking it was Kin coming in to wake him up. However, he was surprised to see Temari standing there with just a towel covering her. Naruto blushed. "Good morning, Naruto," Temari managed to say as she struggled to remain unaffected by the way Naruto blushed. She had always been proud of her beauty, and seeing how well Naruto appreciated it at the moment made her self-esteem soar. There was no need to act harshly since Naruto was trying not to stare at her and seemed embarrassed enough for the both of them rather than the leering, drooling idiots she was used to dealing with. Good morning, Temari-chan," Naruto replied back as he closed his eyes. He didn't want to look perverted in front of her. Temari couldn't help but grin at Naruto's reaction. She felt rather impish and decided to push the blonde male a little further. She began to choose her clothing for the day. "Nay, Naruto," Temari called him. "What is it, Temari-chan?" Naruto wondered. He decided to leave the room, but Temari calling him made him stop. "Would you mind helping me to pick out my clothes?" Temari asked, but in her mind she was grinning. Before Naruto could answer, however, another feminine voice answered for him. "I'm pretty sure you're very capable of choosing your own clothes, Temari-san." Kin replied back rather angrily, before turning her attention to Naruto. "Aren't you supposed to get ready yet?" Naruto merely gulped and rushed out of the room at the death glare Kin had bestowed on him. "That wasn't very nice of you, Kin-san." Temari replied back. It wasn't nice of you for teasing him like that, Temari-san. Kin replied back. Jealous? Temari asked rather impishly. Breakfast is ready. Kin replied back rather than answering Temari, before slamming the door closed. Temari merely grinned. She'll definitely like staying with Naruto. Elsewhere? Has he called yet? Haruna asked her right-hand man Yorinojo. Not yet, princess, after all it's only 6 in the morning. Perhaps the young man is still sleeping? Yorinojo answered his young charge. He doubted Haruna had managed to find any decent sleep the night before. She was restless, wondering what to wear for the day in case Naruto calls them for the tour he had promised. Haruna in the other hand couldn't help but fidget. She didn't have much time to speak to the blonde because of the other princess from the country of snow. Today she was determined to have his attention solely on her. Relax, Haruna-heim. Naruto always keeps his word, remember? Yorinojo replied back. His words seemed to have soothed the irate princess. Would you like some breakfast first? Haruna simply nodded. So no one has called yet? Yuki asked the hotel concierge. She was also waiting a call from Naruto. No, it's fine really. Please inform me immediately if an Uzumaki Naruto either shows up or calls. Before hanging up the phone, Yuki was getting giddy with excitement. She couldn't help but feel excited about having to spend the whole day with Naruto. Back at Naruto's apartment, the atmosphere was a little tense. Naruto opted to remaining quiet throughout breakfast or incur the wrath of his roommate. He could tell that Kin was upset by the way she gripped her chopsticks and the ominous dark aura in the background. He was pretty sure anytime soon the chopsticks she held were going to break because of the strain they were under. Temari on the other hand was rather cheerful and was thoroughly enjoying the little scene before her. She couldn't help but tease Kin or Naruto, it was just too much fun seeing their reactions. Oh, Naruto, your juice is nearly empty? Would you like a refill? Temari asked, noticing Naruto's glass of orange juice. Before Naruto could answer however, Temari had already taken his glass and refilled it for him. Thanks, Temari-chan. Kin, not happy at the attention Temari was displaying to her Naruto, decided to use the same trick. Oh, Naruto, you're almost out of rice. Before putting more rice to his plate, backquote. Thanks Kin-chan. Naruto replied back. Would you like more onigiri, Naruto? More egg rolls, Naruto? Ladies? Naruto's sweat dropped. While he would admit to being a bit touched by the attention he was receiving, the amount of food they were giving him was starting to make a large pile on his plate. He was already full, but the two girls seemed to be determined to feed him. I'm sorry Kin-chan. I really did enjoy the meal, but I'm already full and I'm afraid I can't finish it all. Seeing the two girls deflate, he immediately regretted his action. But for you girls I will finish everything on my plate. With stubborn determination he did just that. Both girls felt a little sheepish at their behavior and a little awed by Naruto's gesture. Ha! Naruto cried out in triumph as he set his chopstick down, his gut visibly protruding. That was a really good breakfast Kin-chan. I'll be off to train now. Before making a hasty exit. He's going to be sick, isn't he? Temari replied back as she watched Naruto depart. Yap, poor guy. Kin replied back. Both girls stared at each other, both looking sorry for what they did. Somewhere in the outskirts of Konoha, Naruto tried his best to keep the contents of his stomach down. He didn't want to upset either of the girls, so against his better judgment and his stomach, he finished the pile of food on his plate. He could easily ask Kyuubi to heal his stomachache, but he didn't want to rely on the demon's powers too much. If he was going to be the greatest Hokage ever, he will have to rely on his own strength and power, not the Kyuubi's. Naruto-kun? Hinata hesitantly called out to him. Finally, after years of training and making herself stronger for him, she had been able to overcome her stuttering. She was still painfully shy around him though, but at least she lost the stuttering part. Good morning, Hinata-chan. Naruto greeted her but winced when his stomach began to churn unpleasantly. Almost immediately Hinata was by his side, her concern for him overriding her shyness. What's wrong, Naruto-kun? I seem to have some stomach pains, Hinata-chan. Naruto tried to grin. Ate too much at breakfast. Hinata couldn't help but smile at his answer. It was just typical Naruto-kun for her. Would you like to come with me towards the Hyuga manor? I'm pretty sure I have something that would help you. She replied back as she shyly looked down at her feet, blushing radiantly. She didn't know where she found the courage to ask Naruto such a bold invitation, but her concern for his well-being was keeping her from fainting, especially at the way he looked at her. "Thanks, Hinata-chan, you're the best." Naruto replied back, trying his best to give Hinata his biggest smile of appreciation. She was such a great girl. A nice but weird kind of girl, but nonetheless nicer than some of the girls that treated him harshly over the years. Hinata couldn't help but blush at his compliment. "You're welcome, Naruto-kun. Now if you'll just follow me." At the Hyuga compound, Hinata used the back way towards the main building where she and the main branch family lived. It just wouldn't do if the elders saw her with a boy. They might get the wrong idea. Besides, for some unknown reason they held an animosity towards her dear sweet Naruto-kun. She was thankful that the people at the estate were too busy to notice her or Naruto's presence. She also thanked the fact that Naruto no longer wears his bright and loud orange clothing, only black clothing with a minimal red or orange strip in it. She led Naruto towards the private kitchen area where she instructed Naruto to sit and wait while she prepared tea to soothe his aching stomach. "Thanks, Hinata-chan. You didn't have to go through all this trouble for me." "It's no trouble at all, Naruto-kun." Hinata blushed. Naruto began to make idle chit-chat as they waited for the water to heat up. "I heard from Kin-chan that you're joining the Kunoichi tournament." "That is right, Naruto-kun." "Wow, that's great, Hinata-chan. I'll be cheering for you." Hinata once again blushed at the attention her Naruto-kun was giving her. "I'll do my best, Naruto-kun." She had every intention of winning. The prize would enable her to bring Naruto to Wave Country where she can confess her feelings for him. Truly, after spending 2 romantic weeks away from Konoha with just the two of them would give her enough courage to confess to him. But thinking of the other competitors slightly dampened her resolve. What if they're stronger than her? What if she failed? How will she be able to confess to her dear Naruto-kun? And if Naruto was watching and cheering for her and she lost and let him down, what then? Naruto suddenly held both of her hands in his as he looked into her eyes. "I know you will, Hinata-chan. I know you always do your best," he said when he saw her begin to lose her spirit, probably thinking about the other competitors and doubting her abilities once again. For the life of Naruto, he couldn't understand why Hinata always doubts herself. She was one of the most kick-ass kunoichis he knew, and yet she was always so adamant and hesitant about her abilities. It was probably due to the many times people always underestimate her, like Neji before. Naruto knew that she can accomplish great things if only she believed in herself more. Hinata nearly fainted but resisted the urge to do so. Naruto was noticing her. He was holding her hands, his intense blue eyes boring into her pale lavender hue ones. She was in the verge of swooning when they were interrupted. "Hinata-ni-chan?" Hanabi walked in the kitchen, was shocked to find the infamous Uzumaki Naruto holding her older sister's hand in an intimate manner. Given the fact that they were also alone in the kitchen unsupervised. "Hanabi-chan?" Hinata replied back. Naruto immediately let go of her hands, an act which brought disappointment to her. Hi there?" Naruto greeted the girl. He has a nagging feeling he's seen her or met her before but couldn't really pinpoint where and when. Hanabi merely raised one delicately shaped eyebrow. She never knew her older sister had in her to bring a boy to the compound, and Uzumaki Naruto no less. She noticed her sibling's visible blush and put 2 and 2 together. Finally solving the puzzle she had been trying to figure out for months. She knew her older sister's dedication wasn't for herself but for someone special. Her cousin Neji had informed her that Hinata's change was not only for herself but to prove herself worthy in the eyes of the object of her affection. When at one sparring match, her sister managed to defeat her not once but 5 times, revealing her own set of jutsus and one impenetrable defense called Shugohaki Rokuhuion Sho. Protection of the 8 trigrams 64 palms. A combination of their clan's Hakesho Dai Kaden, 8 trigram palms heavenly spin, and the Hake Rokuhuion Sho, 8 trigrams 64 palms. For months since Neji's revelation, Hanabi strived to figure out who had captured her naive older sister's heart, but her efforts were in vain. It was hard to decipher what type of guy had captured her sister's attention when she was such a shy creature. Hanabi should have known that her quiet-willed sister would be attracted to the untamed and chaotic force that was Uzumaki Naruto. Hanabi couldn't fault her sister's choice. She herself, along with her best friend Aika, has grown quite fond of the blonde. In fact, Aika was obsessed with the guy. The girl never seems to stop talking about the blonde god like teen. Hearing his great feats from the elders and the other shinobi in the village had sparked interest in her behalf, not to mention that the blonde was absolutely gorgeous up close, which also helped her fascination grow. Flashback. Bai-chan, Bai-chan. Guess what I did? Hanabi looked up from the book she was reading, hearing her fellow Hyugas rant. What is it, Aika? Don't you know that such behavior is not appropriate to a Hyuga prodigy? Stated Hanabi a little harshly, not liking her companion's almost too cheerful attitude. You're one of the Hyuga hybrid, an elite. Start acting like one, she added, looking at her best friend and fellow clansman a bit coldly. Hyuga Aika was a bubbly 13-year-old girl with long white hair with sky blue highlights. She was a prodigy. Despite of her petite body, she could fight against bigger opponents. She was a member of a special family in the Hyuga main, the Hyuga hybrids. Her family had the royal blood of the ancient Hyugas. The children born in this family had special eyes that had gold rim around the irises. They were capable of activating the 8 gates without the danger of dying, unlike ordinary shinobis. Also, they had God Reflex, an ability that made it easy for them to transfer commands to and from the brain. This special ability made their reaction speed an estimated 304 times faster than that of a skilled taijutsu specialist. Aika was even offered the clan heiress's post, but her family firmly denied the proposal, stating that she was to be let to choose her own fate, and the girl was doing just that. That's not the point, is it? Guess what I did? I wrote One-ichan's name as my future husband at the family journal. The cute girl blurted out, who was now blushing like a madman, her gold-ringed eyes shining in glee. Well, what? You did what, Aika? Screamed the Hyuga heiress, now realizing what the girl was saying. Hanabi knew perfectly well as to who she was referring as One-ichan. The infamous Nato Uzumaki. Since the day Aika had that talk with her elder sister Hinata, she seems to be obsessed with the guy. But what is so special about him? Yes, he was handsome. Well, who was she fooling? The guy was stunning. And to top it off, the blonde was a walking powerhouse, almost matching in strength with the Yondaime Hokage. Hanabi knew what Aika asked her elder sister, Hinata, that day. And she also knew that her sister would have said everything she knows about the blonde wind user. Well, this obsession was dead giveaway, confirming that her elder sister obviously was been exaggerating, or so she thought. You heard me right, grinned Aika sheepishly, and I'm going to keep that word I wrote in the journal just like my One-ichan would. Well, they should expect nothing less from the future Mrs. Uzumaki. Squealed the girl, now blushing even redder than a tomato. Hanabi was dumbstruck. She couldn't believe that Aika went this far as to write his name in the Hyuga family journal. She knew that Aika was aware of how strict the family rules were, and if the Uzumaki boy didn't marry her, Aika would be executed as punishment. It's your funeral, Hanabi mumbled to herself, not bothering to say it out loud, because she knew when Aika was hyper no one was able to calm her down. A trait similar to her self-proclaimed future husband, and even the slightest talk about the blonde dynamite made Aika so cheerful that it was really annoying for Hanabi's liking. Flashback end. Hanabi smiled widely, which didn't happen very often. I didn't know you had a guest, One-ichan. I hope I didn't interrupt anything. Hanabi replied in her sweetest voice. Would you like to introduce him? Hinata frowned. She didn't like how her normally outspoken younger sister to be overly sweet. Naruto-kun, I'd like you to meet my younger sister, Hyuga Hanabi. Pleased to meet you, Hanabi-chan. Naruto greeted. Was it just Hinata, or did she just see her younger sister blush? What brings you here in our humble abode, Naruto-san? Hanabi asked, totally ignoring her older sister's presence, and was trying to keep Naruto's attention to herself. Humble? Naruto mouthed. The Hyuga compound was huge. His apartment was probably equivalent to their closet, so Hanabi's statement was a complete understatement in his opinion, but he didn't want to be rude. She was probably downplaying the vast compound to make him feel comfortable about the grandeur of his surroundings. Your sister was kind enough to bring me here to have some tea to cure my stomachache. Giving Hinata a foxy grin that turned Hinata's brain into mush. Really? Perhaps I can offer you my services as well. While tea may ease your stomach cramps, I can give you some medication from our infirmary. Hanabi offered. Really? You'd do that for me, Hanabi-chan? Naruto smiled back. He didn't know much about Hinata's younger sister, only that she was supposed to be the heir of the Hyuga clan, assuming what's supposed to be Hinata's role and the fact that Neji was currently training her. "It's the least I can do for my sister's suitor," Hanabi replied, trying to determine Naruto's relationship with her sister judging from the scene she had witnessed before. "Suitor?" Naruto replied back confused. "Hanabi," Hinata warned her sister knowing where she was leading the conversation into. Hanabi merely grinned at seeing Naruto's reaction and her sister's. "So that's how it is." Naruto still looked confused while Hinata frowned at her sister. "Let me get those medication for you, Naruto-san." Hanabi excused herself, still grinning. "Thanks Hanabi-chan, and please just call me Naruto. No need to be formal and stuff." Naruto replied back while giving her a foxy grin in return. Hanabi blushed before she left the room, leaving Hinata and Naruto alone. Hinata continued to frown at her sister's retreating back. "Sweet girl," Naruto commented, which only made Hinata's frown even deeper. "I think the tea is ready," Hinata announced as she began to prepare the tea for Naruto, trying to wipe the frown off her features. "Hinata, what's wrong?" Naruto asked as he watched Hinata's mood began to dampen once again. Naruto's concern for her well-being seemed to lift up her spirits though. He was always so caring and thoughtful to the people around him despite his crude mannerisms. He was genuinely a good-hearted person and that was always something that attracted her to him. She shook her head to shake off his concerns and gave him a small smile. "I'm fine, Naruto-kun. You know I'm always here for you if you want to talk and stuff, right?" Naruto reassured her, which only made her heart swell. "I know, Naruto-kun," she replied back as she served him the tea. For a while they sat there in amicable silence, mostly talking about non-important stuff until Hanabi returned with the medication she promised. The way Hanabi doted on Naruto annoyed Hinata. He was her guest, therefore, she was supposed to be the one who doted on him. Naruto, however, was unaware of the growing tension between sisters or how they had subtly began to vie for his attentions. "Nay Hinata-chan, have you seen Aika-chan around?" asked Naruto. "She didn't come to spar with me lately," he added as an afterthought. Aika has been training with Naruto more often in the recent months and he found her somewhat challenging, because of her natural speed and good taijutsu skills. The Hyuga sisters frowned at that question. They were visibly not happy that Naruto was talking about some other girl but them. "She's went to the Iron Country for a mission with her team. She should be coming soon," replied Hanabi quickly, not wanting to stretch that conversation too far, obviously wanting to have the blonde's attention to herself. "Oh," Naruto complied, taking the answer. And so they resumed their idle chit-chat while Naruto was slowly healing. Soon Naruto's stomach ache disappeared and realized he was now imposing his presence upon the Hyuga sisters. They probably need to be somewhere else but was probably stuck with him because he was their guest. "I'm probably taking too much of your time, ladies. I guess I better go. I'm sorry for keeping you here and suffer in my company." Naruto replied back. "Of course not, Naruto-kun. I invited you over after all." Hinata replied back with a slight panic in her voice. Was he already tired of talking to her or was it her sister? If it were up to her, Naruto would never leave her side. "Don't worry about it, Naruto-san. I assure you that my presence is not missed," Hanabi reassured the blonde. "Nonetheless, I think I've overstayed my welcome. Thank you Hinata-chan, Hanabi-chan, for your hospitality. I owe you two a favor or two, maybe I can even repay your kindness someday." Naruto replied back with one of his foxy grins that melted both of the sisters' hearts as he gave them a thumbs up. "I'll see you out then," Hinata said dejectedly. "I'll accompany you too," Hanabi replied back. The three then snuck Naruto out of the Hyuga compound. As the two girls waved goodbye to the blonde dynamite, they couldn't help but speak with each other without taking their eyes off from Naruto's retreating back. "Just what are you up to, sister?" Hinata asked as she continued to wave goodbye. Hanabi ceased her waving and looked sternly at her older sister. "Nothing, dear sister, whatever gave you that idea?" she replied sweetly, enjoying her sister's unease. Now that Naruto left, there was no longer any point of her spending time with her older sister. It was time now to seek her cousin Neji for some training. It just wouldn't do if she lost against any of the other competitors of the tournament. As Hanabi left Hinata's side, Hinata's frown deepened. Her sister was up to something, she could feel it. At the Konoha Imperial Leaf Hotel. "Damn it, Yurino-ju!" Haruna cried out in frustration. Mind your language, Haruna-sama. Yorinojo reprimanded his young charge. It was now approaching lunch, and there was still no word from the blonde shinobi. Yorinojo sighed in relief when he heard a knock upon their door. Hopefully that would be Naruto. Upon hearing the knock, Haruna's mood seemed to lift up and immediately rushed to her room to inspect her clothing, hoping that the dress she wore was not crinkled or her hair messed up. Yorinojo opened the door, only to be disappointed. Before him was a young man, probably one of Yukihime's footmen. "Greetings." The young man greeted him nervously. "Greetings to you too." The young man took a deep breath. "I was sent here by Yukihime to ask if Uzumaki Naruto has made any contact with you." Yorinojo frowned. It seems that Naruto forgot about the tour. "I'm afraid Uzumaki-san has not contacted us as well." It was then that Haruna approached the open door. "Naruto?" she asked hopefully, only to be disappointed at finding out who was by their front door. Somewhere in Konoha, Naruto walked leisurely around the streets, taking in the scenery before him. "I got a funny feeling that I'm supposed to be doing something, but what?" It was only when he looked up at the Hokage Tower and looking at the Hokage monument did he remember his promise to the two princesses. "Oh damn it, I'm late." With that he rushed towards the Konoha Imperial Hotel, hoping that the princesses were not too upset with him. It was fast approaching lunchtime after all. Naruto made his way towards the Yamanaka's flower shop, where he was greeted by a rather bored-looking Yamanaka Ino behind the counter. "Welcome to Yamanaka's," Ino greeted rather blandly, not even looking up from the magazine she was currently flicking through. "I can see why business is booming," Naruto couldn't help but sarcastically remark. Ino irritatedly looked up from her magazine to tell off the smart-mouthed sarcastic remark and was not all that surprised to be greeted by Uzumaki Naruto. "Figures," Ino replied back as though the problem was solved. "Naruto, the ramen stand is in the next corner of the street," she helpfully pointed out. Perhaps he had entered her shop by mistake from ramen-induced hunger pains or cravings? "Huh? Yeah, I knew that," Naruto replied back, having no idea why Ino would even say such a thing. He looked at her like she was the epitome of the word, dumb blonde. The amount of flowers were a dead giveaway. Ino couldn't help but feel a slight twitch of irritation from the way Naruto looked at her. He was looking at her like she was stupid as he stood there in front of her with arms crossed against his broad and muscular chest. "So why are you here?" she asked the blonde, wondering why on earth Naruto would be there of all places. Naruto once again gave her that look, the look that says she's not as smart as she looked kind of look. "I'm here to get some flowers, duh." Ino shook in repressed rage. How dare this blonde look down on her and make her look stupid? She slammed both hands on the counter and glared at him. "So why aren't you looking around then, instead of you irritating me?" "Well," Naruto's sweat dropped and he scratched the side of his nose, feeling a bit sheepish. "I don't know much about flowers and stuff, so I was hoping you'd help me." "After insulting me?" Ino couldn't help but incredulously reply back. That was some way to ask someone to help them. From the way she was feeling at the moment, she was tempted to give him some poisonous plants and poison ivy as payback, but had to restrain herself. She felt sorry for whomever was going to receive the flowers. She couldn't take a risk. What if it was for Godem-sama? She was the only female she knew that tolerated the blonde doofus. Naruto scratched the back of his head. "Come on Ino, don't be like that. I'm in real deep water here. If you'd like, I'll take this as a favor and I'll treat you to something. Please? I'm desperate here." So he screwed up again. Ino thought, but more importantly she was intrigued. If Naruto was buying flowers, that means he messed up with some girl. She immediately thought of Tsuchi-kin, but Naruto, as far as she knew, never bought flowers for anyone. Rather just treating them to ramen as a peace offering. How could anyone consider ramen as a peace offering anyway? Even as a treat? Ino looked at Naruto once again. He did look desperate, and he had that abandoned puppy look that was starting to melt her hardened resolve to leave him with his own devices. Besides, it wouldn't hurt if Naruto owed her a favor or two. "Fine," Ino reluctantly replied back as she left the counter to join him. "What did you have in mind?" Naruto frowned and concentrated real hard. "How about you show me what you have first?" Ino clucked her tongue in distaste. It seemed that she will be preoccupied for a while. Well, it beats doing nothing after all. "Yeah, okay. Follow me then." She led him around the shop, showing him various flowers. After about 20 minutes of scrutinizing everything in the shop and looking like he was being tortured for interrogation, Ino asked Naruto what he would like. Naruto's frown was evident and the lost look in his eyes prominent. Ino sighed. Why don't you just buy roses like the other guys? They're very popular. Ino advised him, which made Naruto grimaced. What would you pick? He asked as he turned towards Ino. He didn't want roses. Roses sounded too plain and almost had a hollow meaning to them due to their popularity. Ino was a little taken aback by his question. She was used to customers asking her preferences, since she has more experience in flower arranging, but it was still weird to hear Naruto ask the question. I would have picked baby's breath along with the Chinese chrysanthemum, iris and narcissus combination. Naruto nodded. I see. Then I'll go with those then. Naruto replied back. He trusted Ino's preference. Ino on the other hand was a little taken back. Just like that? After all the trouble of showing him their entire collection of flowers, he would trust her judgment? Wait a minute, you mean you'll just take my word for it? Of course Ino-chan, why not? You've been running this business with your parents for years. I'm pretty sure you're never wrong. But you didn't even tell me what type of person you're going to give the flowers to. For all you know, they might be allergic to the flowers I just recommended you. Naruto frowned in deep thought then smiled. I trust you Ino-chan, besides I won't blame you if they are allergic to the flowers. That's my fault for not knowing. Ino couldn't help but smile at Naruto's honesty but did a double take when she realized what he just said. Wait a minute, did you just say they? Naruto nodded enthusiastically. Yeah, I would like to buy 2 bouquets please. Naruto's confirmation made Ino's eyebrows rise. She was flabbergasted. Who would have thought Naruto would be such a ladies' man? But then again, looking at him now, she had to admit there was something undeniably charming about Naruto. Maybe it was the great body he carried or those marvelous eyes of his, or perhaps the childlike innocence about him that made almost every female in the immediate vicinity swoon. Even those who doesn't like him had to admit that they don't like him simply because he possessed the very same characteristics listed. So who are the lucky ladies? Ino inquired, curious who Naruto would be giving flowers to. A couple of girls entered her mind. It could probably Sakura or Kin, or perhaps Ayame, Shizune or the Godem herself. The possibilities were endless. Naruto merely scratched the back of his head, unsure if he should tell Ino. She might say something to Sakura. Oh, no one you know. He grinned sheepishly. Try me. Ino challenged as she handed him the 2 arranged bouquets. Oh geez, I would really like to Ino-chan but I'm running late as it is. Naruto replied back as he took the flowers and paid for them, not caring how much money he gave Ino. He was rushing towards the door when Ino's call stopped him. Hey Naruto, this is too much. What about your change? Don't worry about it. Naruto called out, but before he could step out of the door, he spotted some white calla lilies. On impulse, he grabbed one of the flowers, walked back quickly to Ino and handed it to the stunned blonde. Thanks for helping me out Ino-chan. You're the greatest. He gave her one of his foxy grins and a quick kiss on her cheek before hightailing it out of her shop. Ino on the other hand was too shocked to respond. She looked at the white lily in her hand and the rapidly retreating blonde, her free hand resting on the cheek he kissed just now. Her mind was acting on its own now, repeating the butterfly kiss on her cheek over and over again. He kissed me, she mumbled to herself, finally getting some composure back. She couldn't help but get touched by the gesture, when something else occurred to her. Naruto couldn't have possibly known that the flower in my hand is my favorite flower, could he? She asked herself. She couldn't stop the smile and the blush that formed on her face, nor how her day seemed to have gotten a lot brighter. Naruto dashed maniacally through the streets of Konoha, earning him the attention of another well-known shinobi. Ohio Naruto-kun. Lee happily trotted beside him. You are full of youth today. Sorry Lee, can't really talk to you right now. I'm late. Naruto replied back to his companion. I see, well may the power of youth guide you. Lee replied back with a slight disappointment in his tone. He was looking forward to some training and Naruto was always a great person to train with. See you later man, Naruto replied back as he left Lee. It took Lee a few more seconds to realize that his friend was running at full speed while carrying a handful of flowers. Lee's eyes glazed over as he held a fist before his face. Naruto-kun is expressing his youthful love. The springtime love has definitely touched his friend. Good luck Naruto-kun, he yelled after him. Finally, after what seemed like hours of running around aimlessly, Naruto finally managed to reach the Imperial Leaf Hotel. It was already a couple of minutes after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but he hoped that the flowers he bought would soothe both princesses. He walked towards the concierge desk and asked if he could inform both Yuki and Haruna that he was in the hotel lobby waiting for them. The concierge merely lifted one snobbish eyebrow and looked at him from head to toe, as if he didn't deserve to set foot on their prestigious hotel but did as he was told. After all, both princesses has been ringing him up every 10 minutes to see if he was there. The moment the concierge informed both princesses, the hotel shook mildly as though there was a stampede taking place. Not even 2 minutes to spare, both princesses, Haruna and Yuki, appeared before him, followed closely by Yuki's 2 out-of-breath personal bodyguards and Yorinojo. "Naruto-kun!" Both princesses cried out in unison, surprising everyone in the lobby. Naruto merely sweat dropped as he gave the 2 dignitaries his best foxy grin, scratching the back of his head sheepishly. "I'm sorry I'm late," he apologized. He then remembered his consolatory offerings and presented them to the 2 princesses. Haruna, Yuki and everyone who was in the immediate area who could see them stared dumbstruck at the beautifully wrapped stems in Naruto's hands. "Damn it," Naruto swore under his breath. All the running around he did wilted the flowers' petals, leaving their stems, a few petals and leaves in the supposed to be bouquet. Yorinojo wanted nothing more but to laugh out loud at Naruto's poor attempt, but was amazed when his young charge accepted his poor offering. "They're lovely, Naruto," Haruna said as she accepted the bouquet, prompting Yuki to accept hers as well. "It's a very thoughtful offer." Yuki agreed and handed the bouquet to one of her bodyguards. The immediate males in the vicinity didn't know how the blonde could pull off such a response from the 2 princesses. They were sure that the princesses would be offended at such poor quality gifts. "Shall we go, Naruto? I'm interested in touring the sights Konohagakure has to offer," prompted Haruna as she tugged at Naruto's arm, attaching herself against him. "Me too," Yuki chimed in as she grabbed hold of his other arm. Before they could start walking outside, Haruna called Yorinojo over, who handed a beautifully wrapped box to the young princes. "Naruto-kun, this is for you. I bought this present just for you." She handed the gift to a bit confused-looking blonde. "I hope you like it, Naruto-kun," she added hopefully. The boy was out of words. He was radiating happiness because of the young princess's kind gesture. He mustered his best smile, which was different and more handsome than his usual ones. This special smile showed pure happiness which melted the 2 beautiful princesses into a mush. Haruna was in heaven. She could feel her heart skipping a beat. His smile was melting her inside out. Even Yorinojo was surprised to see Haruna's face after seeing her self-proclaimed prince smiling at her. Haruna was really happy. Yorinojo knew this was not the Haruna smiling when seeing her lands prosper, nor when given her favorites fruits for dessert. Nope, this was a young princess who's smiling in joy seeing her prince happy, and he thought she looked like an angel looking so happy like that. Meanwhile, Yuki was seething inside. "The bitch beat me tit," she thought. While she was feeling really warm inside seeing her Naruto-kun smile like that, she couldn't help the frown creeping onto her pink lips. Her chief guard, seeing the princess's reaction, rushed to her side, also handing her 2 beautifully wrapped boxes. "Naruto-kun," Yuki purred the last part, making some of the hotel staff faint in nosebleed just from the strength of seductiveness it carried. Naruto turned around smiling sheepishly while scratching the back of his head, totally oblivious to her suggestive tone. This made a blushing Yorinojo facepalm and sweat drop at the same time. "Yes, Koyuki-hime?" he said, still maintaining his grin. "Here, Naruto-kun. I made this just for you, and the other ones as a compliment from the snow, spring country. This is their way of showing you gratitude for you being the hero you are," Yuki replied while she stretched the word "made" a bit to ensure she outclassed the other princes. Read it as bitch. She wasn't the one to lose her prince to some grass country slut. "Oh arigato, Yuki, Haruna. I don't have words to say how happy I am," he said honestly, giving the princesses another heart-pounding smile. "Well, what are you waiting for? Open them," Yuki proposed, wanting to see his reaction to her presents as soon as possible. Seeing that there were quite a big crowd gathering around the scene to see what the princesses gave him, Naruto wasted no time taking Haruna's present first to open, thinking it'd be fair because she was the first to give it to him. The box had gold trimming and a neat silver wrapping cloth around it, giving a classy look to it. He discarded the wrappings and opened the lid. Inside the box lay a pair of black retro-style sunglasses, carefully placed on a white silk cloth. Haruna Kachikali took the glasses out and ushered him to wear them, which Naruto happily obliged. He looked so handsome, to say the least, or so can be concluded seeing the blushing faces of the two princesses as well as few of the female staff members who gathered at the scene. Taking the glasses off, chuckling slightly from a thought which entered his head regarding a certain bug user, Naruto gave Haruna a hug and mouthed a quick arigato. This made the girl turn a deeper shade of crimson, which didn't go unnoticed by Yuki. Quickly taking the other two presents, he gave a second to admire the beautiful wrappings. The longer box had crimson wrapping with a beautiful dragon patterns running around the surface. The smaller one was bright yellow, which clearly was sealing scroll of sorts with bright orange and red laces dangling from both its ends. Giving a quick smile to Yuki, much to the girl's delight, he opened the bigger present. Inside it was a katana. It was the most beautiful blade he had ever had, a dark crimson blade. When he brought it out, the blade glistered in the sunlight. Its handle was wrapped by a jet black leather to make it durable, and it gave the ease to grip. In its hilt was a black fox head with red rubied eyes, and the blade was as if coming from its mouth. It took a whole minute for Naruto to get out of his trance. Lost in his thoughts admiring the beautiful, was pretty sure that everyone gathered, except Yuki, were memorized at its beauty, now seeing the awestruck looks in their faces. With happiness pouring out of his eyes, Naruto gave the beautiful snow princess a big hug, which the girl responded to, quickly wrapping her slender arms around his back. He thanked her, whispering to her ear, which made her turn a whole different level of red. After an agonizingly long 15 seconds, much to Haruna, he let go, and Yuki reluctantly did as well, adoring a cute pout with her lips while doing so. Sensing indescribable tension growing in the vicinity, God, he's oblivious, he made hasty excuse, saying that they were getting late to their adventure. He pocketed the last present, promising Yuki that he would open it while on there. Another pout from the angelic actress. As soon as he said that they were leaving, both girls jumped in, latching onto his arms again as prior, exchanging evil glares while they were at it as they half-dragged Naruto out of the hotel and into the street. This is going to be a long day. Yorinojo sighed in defeat as he followed his charge along with Yuki's personal bodyguards. Sasame of the Fuma clan walked aimlessly around the street of Konoha. She had reached the village the day before and was curious as to what had happened to the blonde since they have last seen each other. Sasame couldn't help but blush remembering her first encounter with one Uzumaki Naruto. Sure, it could have been under better circumstances, but their meeting was one of the most memorable memories of her life. He was also the first guy to ever openly grope her. Sure, he didn't know she was a female at the time, but having his arms around her protectively made her shiver in response. The memory still gives her shivers of delight until now. She was walking around Konoha not only to get to know her environment but to also leave herself in an open chance to maybe bump into the blonde once again. She was sure she had made an impression on the blonde by the way he looked at her during that time to rescue her cousin Arashi. Speaking of the blonde, she couldn't help but overhear a very enthusiastic and overly confident voice from nearby. She was amused by the masculine's voice and couldn't help but mutter, "Tourists," from under her breath, until she realized the significance of the conversation. And that's the Hokage Mountain, where Konohagakure's previous Hokage's faces are engraved to remind the citizens of Konoha of their greatness. The masculine voice lectured as it continued in the most enthusiastic introduction. "One day my face will be carved in that mountain. If not sooner. You got to believe it." That last statement got Sasame's attention. She whirled around, eager to find the speaker's voice. Her eyes grew in recognition as she saw spiky, unruly and wild blonde hair. At first, she was unsure who the speaker was since his back was facing her. Add another fact that the speaker wasn't wearing any noticeable color like orange. But her curiosity coupled by her rapidly beating heart couldn't resist but to approach the blonde male's back and try and gain his attention. She only wanted to confirm her suspicion and was unprepared for being right. Naruto turned around when he felt someone tap his shoulder. He was slightly annoyed, since the person has interrupted his tour for the princesses and his speech. He suddenly realized that the person may have overheard his announcement and he would now be arguing with the person about the ridiculousness of his speech and how a demon like him would never amount to anything. So he prepared himself for the oncoming berating he sure would follow and was surprised to be greeted by a familiar-looking person and a female no less. Naruto's eyes grew wide when he saw a cute orange-haired female greeted him and was left speechless. She looked shocked as well by the way she looked at him. Naruto? Uzumaki Naruto? He could hear the disbelief in her voice, as though she couldn't believe it was him standing before her. He gave her one of his foxy grins as he scratched the back of his head that caused many females to become endeared to him. Yeah, that's me. The two princesses narrowed their eyes against the newcomer who dared to interrupt their quality time with Naruto. Yuki had managed to talk to her bodyguards to return to the Imperial Leaf Hotel, assuring them that they can have a day off as she was with Naruto, the most powerful shinobi of Konoha, and no harm will befall on her as long as she was in his company. Haruna on the other hand only needed to exchange a few words with Yorinojo to leave her alone so that she can spend some time alone with Naruto, which Yorinojo obliged. Since their keepers have left them alone, it was just a matter of who gets most of the blonde's attention. They had not let go of the Naruto's arms until he passionately began to introduce the Hokage mountain. They should have known that the moment they let go of him, some trollop would try and gain their Naruto's attention, and they were right. The orange-haired female gave Naruto a bright and brilliant smile and looked like she would have glomped him if they weren't out in public. That is until Naruto opened his mouth once again. "I'm sorry, but do I know you?" Naruto asked in puzzlement. Sasame's spirits seemed to have decreased as she heard him ask the question. He doesn't remember her. "It's me, Naruto, Sasame from the Fuma clan." She answered, slightly bittered that he could forget someone like her when he had remained in her thoughts for a long time since their encounter. Naruto's eyes grew in recognition as he looked at the girl before him in a completely different light. No wonder he couldn't recognize her. Sasame has gotten taller and certainly filled in certain places. She no longer had her orange fringe or that sideburn thing. Her long orange hair was smoothed back and was held by a silver rose pin. She was clothed in feminine clothing designed so that it shows off her curves, unlike the boyish clothes that had him fooled during their encounter, making sure no one would ever make that mistake again. All of a sudden, Naruto reddened as he remembered unconsciously groping her too back then. "It's great to see you, Sasame-chan." Naruto energetically greeted her as he engulfed her into a friendly hug which made Sasame blush and crimson. The fierceness of Naruto's hug also made Sasame's chest crush against his. Naruto was slightly startled when he felt dark and angry auras from behind him, emanating from the temporarily ignored princesses. "Mind introducing us to your friend, Naruto?" Yuki asked sweetly while glaring daggers at the orange-haired wench. "Yes, Naruto-kun, please introduce us to your friend." Haruna smiled disturbingly and a slight menace in her voice. The other girl's dark aura and the glares Sasame received made her cower slightly and hid behind Naruto's comforting presence. Naruto wasn't sure why the princesses were angry and came to the conclusion that perhaps it's because they have not eaten yet. He cursed himself for being clueless to the princesses' needs and decided to try and placate them for now. "Haruna-hime, Yuki-hime, I'd like you to meet a friend of mine." He smiled at them disarmingly as he stepped aside so they can better see the other girl. "This is Sasame-chan from the Fuma clan from the country of rice fields." "Sasame-chan, I'd like you to meet Haruna-hime from Green Country and Yuki-hime from Snow Country." Sasame swallowed the lump in her throat as she bowed to the princesses respectfully. "How do you do?" Hearing the word, friend, seemed to have placated the two princesses but eyed Sasame warily. There were too many females after their Naruto. Present company included. Naruto decided to break the heavy tension that seemed to have lingered in the air. "All the walking we did probably made you princesses hungry. Why don't we take a break and have a late lunch?" Then turned his attention towards Sasame. "Why don't you join us too, Sasame-chan? The more the better." The two princesses were about to protest when their stomachs began to growl. They were so intent on keeping Naruto's attention that they have ignored how hungry they were from all the sightseeing they were doing. Sasame hesitated to accept Naruto's offer. On the other, it will give her a chance to spend some time with him and perhaps find out where he lives. In the end, she accepted the offer as if she's just going to let the opportunity to pass to spend time with him. "That's great. I know just the place." Ayame felt her jaw ache as she smiled at the customers. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Naruto was late. Not that the blonde knows he's late. But ever since her father had initiated the whole promotion, she had grown used to Naruto's presence. She felt jilted that she had not seen him since the lunch rush. When her father asked what was wrong, she waved off his concern, telling him that she was not happy washing the pile of dishes that was on the sink. Washing dishes now doesn't seem as fun anymore, not when Naruto wasn't around to make it more fun and lively or even help her. Another sigh escaped her lips, catching the attention of the kunoichi currently dining in front of her. "What seems to be the matter? You've been sighing since I got here," Tenten asked curiously. Normally she wouldn't pry into other people's business, but the waitress' constant sighing is slightly putting her off her meal. "Nothing really," Ayame brushed off the kunoichi's question. The kunoichi before her is one of Hyuga Hinata's friends. Ayame had become great friends with Hinata since she also frequented their business, unknown to her that the reason for her frequenting the place was getting to know Naruto's love of ramen or hoping to subtly bump into him and eat with the blonde herself. "Sorry to pry into your business, but you have that faraway look in your eyes as though you miss something important to you," Tenten explained. She was known as a weapon specialist not only for her skills but because of her keen eye, and right now she couldn't help but study Ayame's melancholy mood. "Am I really that easy to read?" Ayame blushed at Tenten's sharp assessment. She must look like a love-struck teenager, which wasn't really that far from the truth. Tenten merely nodded her head in affirmation, then gave her a sympathetic smile. "Don't worry about it." Tenten returned her attention to her meal when a boisterous voice interrupted the whole diner, surprising her slightly. "Ohio, old man, Ayame-chan," Naruto greeted as he entered the diner in his most energetic self. Behind him were three gorgeous women, all exchanging evil looks against each other. "Naruto-kun," Ayame couldn't help but her heart soar as she saw Naruto. A reaction not missed by Tenten. "3 extra large beef ramen please, and whatever the girls want," Naruto ordered as he sat down beside Tenten, much to his other companions' chagrins. As soon as the girls saw where Naruto sat, it became a vicious battle of who would be sitting next to the empty stool beside Naruto, since Tenten already occupied his right side. They were too preoccupied in fighting who would sit next to Naruto that they never noticed another person's arrival. Unfortunately or fortunately, however you wished to look at it, their dilemma was solved when a green-clad male occupied the empty seat next to Naruto, leaving the three girls flabbergasted. "Ohio, Naruto-kun," Lee enthusiastically greeted Naruto. "How did your youthful quest go?" "Huh?" was Naruto's response, not really sure what Lee was talking about, nor did he care. All he wanted was the sweet scent of his ramen being prepared by a now more cheerful Ayame. Tenten watched the whole scene in wry amusement. The moment the blonde dynamite entered the diner became immersed with such vitality. She also couldn't help but giggle at how cute Naruto looked, unaware of the three girls' now sullen expression of not being able to sit next to him. "Oh, that's such a cool and hip response, as expected from one of my rivals," Lee exclaimed. "Whatever fuzzy eyebrows," Naruto replied back as he turned his attention to the girl beside him. "What's up, Tenten?" He'd rather have a normal conversation with Tenten than his green-clad friend for now, and what the hell was taking his ramen so damn long? Tenten giggled. "Nothing much, Naruto, just grabbing something to eat after training so hard this morning." At the word training, Naruto's ears perked up in interest. "You're in the kunoichi tournament too, right?" Tenten nodded. As soon as Naruto's three companions overheard Naruto talking to the other kunoichi and expressed his interest, they began to listen to their conversation. It wouldn't hurt to be aware of another potential rival. Naruto whistled in amazement. "Wow, virtually every girl I know is involved in the tournament." Then Naruto remembered his manners. "Oh, that reminds me." He quickly turned around and began to introduce his other companions. "Tenten, Lee, I'd like you to meet a few friends of mine." Naruto introduced brightly as he gestured at the three women that accompanied him. At the words, "friends," Tenten and Lee could have sworn the temperature in the diner dropped considerably. "I'd like you to meet Princess Yuki from Snow Country, Princess Haruna from Green Country, and Sasame of the Fuma clan from Rice Country. Sasame is also in the tournament. Ladies, I'd like you to meet Tenten and Rock Lee." Naruto smiled brightly. Lee gave the girls his best ever twinkling and shiny smile that always seemed to be too bright and too white, while Tenten gave the girls an awkward smile since they were all looking at her as if sizing her up for a fight. Which was weird since she had only met them. "It's nice to meet you all." Tenten greeted Naruto's companions, trying to diffuse the very tense atmosphere she felt. If Naruto was more perceptive, he would have noticed that his companion's eyes narrowed at Tenten and at each other. But sadly, Naruto was still as clueless as ever, and so he missed the silent exchanges of jealousy and animosity between the girls. I know. Why don't we all sit at the booths? That way we can all get to know each other. Lee enthusiastically suggested, which Naruto happily agreed to. Great idea, fuzzy eyebrows. Naruto grinned as he gave Lee a thumbs up, which Lee enthusiastically replied with his own thumbs up plus gleaming row of shiny white teeth. Tenten couldn't help but sweat drop as she silently cursed the males with their cluelessness. The girls in front of her had no desire to get to know one another other than rip each other to shreds by the looks they gave each other. The moment they sat at one of the much bigger booths to accommodate them, Ayame and one of her father's assistants headed over them to serve them. Ayame accompanied Nishi to Naruto's table while Nishi carried the tray of Naruto's ramen order. Nishi didn't understand why Ayame was going through the trouble of accompanying him when she was supposed to be greeting customers, but decided to let it pass. He was more curious to see what Ayame was up to anyway. "Here's your order, Naruto-kun," Ayame enthusiastically informed Naruto as Nishi placed his ramen order before the blonde male, being extra careful not spill anything on him since he had a feeling that Ayame wouldn't be very happy with him if he did so. "Thanks, Ayame-chan." Naruto enthusiastically thanked Ayame, giving her one of his huge grins in the process, which made the females he was with stare in starstruck awe. Witnessing the effect of his smile to the opposite, Lee's eyes began to brim in admiration and fire as once again he was inspired by Naruto's radiant youth. "The burning passion of youth is strong within you, Naruto-kun," Lee announced enthusiastically. "I also must strive to brighten and burn with passion as well." Lee then stood up with his fist pumping in the air, full of determination. "What that?" Naruto asked in between mouthfuls of ramen. "Oh, what a cool response." As expected from the student of Gai-sensei's rival, Lee seemed unaware that his enthusiasm and strange gestures were beginning to draw questioning stares from some of the other people in the diner. "I will strive to be on the same level as you, Naruto-kun." And with that last parting speech, Lee ran out of the diner, determined to train and beat Naruto's power of youth. Naruto, though, was too engrossed in his food to pay much attention to the green-clad shinobi and merely gave a thumbs up as a response to his rants. With the exception of Tenten, already immune to Lee's and Guy's outbursts, and Naruto, who really paid more attention to his food above all else, everyone watched the departing green-clad shinobi with questioning stares. "So, Naruto, how is your ramen?" Ayame asked the blonde male, earning glares from his other companions while Tenten just watched in amusement. "It's great as always, Ayame-chan." Naruto smiled brightly at the young woman. "Hey, why don't you have a seat and hang out with us for a while?" Naruto said invitingly, oblivious to his other companion's sudden shift in mood. Tenten, however, wasn't as lucky. She could feel her skin begin to prickle as the room temperature began to drop due to the frigid auras the girls across from her were exuding. Ayame, whose whole attention was solely on Naruto, was just as oblivious to her surroundings as the object of her affections and sat on Naruto's right side in the spot Lee previously occupied, making it so Naruto was sitting in between her and Tenten. "Don't mind if I do, Naruto-kun," Ayame gladly replied back. "Excuses, but aren't you supposed to be working?" Haruna questioned, trying to keep the annoyance from her voice. "Yes, we don't want you to get in trouble or anything," Yuki seconded, finding herself agreeing with the other dignitary for once. Nishi, who was still standing by and waiting for the rest of the table's orders, decided to answer for his employer. "There's nothing to worry about. Ayame-san is the co-owner of this stand and daughter of Ichiraku Tuchi. She can't get in trouble. Besides, she deserves a break from greeting the customers for a while." This response earned Nishi a beaming smile from Ayame and cold angry glares from the other three females, namely Haruna, Yuki and Sasame. Nishi tried to suppress the shiver running down his spine and silently retreated from the table, making an excuse of coming back when they were ready to order. Tenten, who was by now getting really uncomfortable with the whole situation, decided that maybe starting a conversation could lighten up the mood. Too bad that the other girls at the table seemed to be more interested in either ogling the male seated near her or glaring at each other to make any decent conversation. Tenten sighed in dismay, catching Naruto's attention. "What's wrong, Ten-chan? Are you feeling sick or something?" Naruto asked in a concerned tone. Then without warning he placed his hand upon Tenten's forehead to check her temperature. Tenten could feel her cheeks begin to flush at Naruto's sudden gesture. "I am fine, Naruto," Tenten replied back in a slightly husky voice, probably due to Naruto's proximity. Tenten wasn't really used to such intimate contact since her teammates were not very touchy-feely people. Sure, Neji would ask about her health and so would Lee, but they would never actually have the guts to check her temperature in such a way. To have someone to show their concern for her as boldly like this wasn't something Tenten was used to, but she was touched by it nonetheless. She was so surprised that she completely overlooked the women around them, all of whom had cheeks flushed with jealousy, wishing that Naruto would also dote them with the same kind of concern. Naruto's simple gesture caused her to see him in a new light. For someone so brash and outspoken, he could really be so sweet and endearing. Now she understood why almost all the girls she knew fell for him. "Ten-chan, you're burning up. Do you want me to walk you to Ba-chan or look for Shizune-ni-chan to check up on you?" Naruto asked concernedly. "We can even try and look for Sakura-chan. I'm sure she'll know what's wrong." "No, really, Naruto, I'm fine," Tenten continued to proclaim as she struggled to suppress the raging blush on her face, which she knew was only making things worse. However, every time she tried she could feel herself being hypnotized by his blue eyes and his handsome features, which was way too close. Close enough that she could feel the warmth of his breath as it tickled her skin, making her temperature rise up even more. She tried to distract herself from the sensations she felt and tried to focus on his eyes instead, but every time she gazed into those cerulean depths she felt like the whole world zoned out, leaving the two of them alone in a motionless world. Ahem. The other four girls at the table, namely Yuki, Haruna, Sasame and Ayame, coughed all at once, trying to get Naruto's attention away from the dark-haired Kunoichi. "Are you all sick too?" Naruto asked in wonderment as he turned his attention to the rest of the girls who were all currently flustered with jealousy. They all sweat dropped. He briefly wondered if there was a virus going around. Then after much thought, he came to the conclusion that perhaps all of them just needed the goodness of ramen in their system. In as boisterous a voice as he could muster, he called Nishi over and declared a round of chicken ramen for the whole table. If he was right, which he knew he was, chicken ramen was always good for anything that ails the body. Beef too actually, and seafood ramen, and as a later alternative, vegetable ramen. As soon as the food orders arrived, everyone immediately began to eat in silence. There was no reason for conversation, since everyone was more interested in the blonde than each other, so Naruto found himself the main speaker for the table. Naruto was in a state of bliss and was completely oblivious to the envious stares he was getting from both male and female diners at the restaurant. Suddenly a slight puff was heard from the entrance of the diner. Everyone looked up to see an ANBU black op, wearing a tiger mask, stepping out of the smoke, and now approaching them. The ANBU operative was a girl, this they could clearly conclude, from her jet black hair neatly tied to a ponytail. And also the obvious reason, she left 2 buttons of her ANBU vest and also the black long-sleeved shirt she wore, open, showing off her creamy white complexion and a slight peek at her noticeable sized bust. A beautiful green crystal was dangling from a silver thread on her long slender neck. She was tall, nearly as tall as Naruto. Well, maybe a good 2 inches short, but to the girls, she was tall. She carried her body with authority and power which everyone at the vicinity felt from the aurora she gave away. She wore the Alliance Hitte 8 on her waist, something that enhanced and showing off her curves, which Yuki noted. The red and white emblem in the back of her ANBU vest didn't go unnoticed, mostly by Ten-ten, which she raised an eyebrow seeing. Naruto-sama. The ANBU kneeled in front of Naruto, who blushed and waved his arms in the air like a madman as to protest. Naruto-sama. Thoughts ran through the already present girls' minds, as they narrowed their eyes at the newcomer. Yar yar. Chiesa-chan, how many times do I have to tell you? It's Naruto. Drop the formalities please. For God's sake. Grim said Naruto, obviously not happy from the girl's too formal gesture. And stand up, will you? It's embarrassing, you know, he added quickly, wanting the girl acting normal as soon as possible. Hi Naruto saw. Naruto-kun. The girl said, her pale cheeks turning slight red under the mask. The other occupants other than Naruto was frowning at that. Girl's intuition kicking in. That's more like it, grinned the young blonde, happy from his achievement. So what's up, Chiesa? What's the news? He asked his young ANBU subordinate. The toad sage Jiraiya wishes to speak to you. Naruto-kun is in top of the Hokage mountain waiting for your arrival. She replied, realizing the dark aurora emitting from Naruto's female companions and wanting look as professional as possible. I see. Did the others arrive yet? He wanted to see his squad soon. After all, it has been a long time since he saw them. He was obviously itching to see them again. Hi, Naruto-sama. They are also stationed there, she replied, now completely turning to her business mode. They? What are these two talking about? Great. This girl, read it as bitch, about to take my Naru-kun away from me, and we didn't even get to open my present yet. That symbol? Why is she wearing that on her jacket? Thoughts ran through the female occupants' heads, as they started to panic, thinking their Naruto-kun was going to leave them. After a second's thought, Naruto announced that they would all leave together to the mount, as he already had the idea to show them the sunset in the first place. So the group of 6 headed out to the Hokage mountain. The fourth's head to be exact. Ten decided to tag along because she had a lot of questions in her mind, and she sure as hell wanted some answers.
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.